Rich Tarani with TMC here. Thanks for watching. We're at ITEXPO 2014 in Las Vegas. On our program is Mads Lilleland with Adtran. Mads, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rich.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
good to be back.
We're thrilled to have you again. Tell us what's going on at Adtran.
Well, we're participating at the show here. Just did a panel on cloud virtualization for mobility, and we had a very good conversation with the audience in terms of how clouds is going to be used for scaling the mobility around the globe.
And how is that going to happen?
So as Wi-Fi becomes more and more ubiquitous, we all know that it's inherently within the four walls of our hospitality, like here, or schools, or healthcare, or your enterprise. I see that the world is moving beyond the walls. So you're now going out into communities, up and down main streets, into cities, and in order to handle all that capacity, you need to now bring it into the cloud, because it's the only place where you can manage such a large-scale deployment, not only here in the US, but this is a global phenomenon.
And what are some of the things that you manage in the cloud?
So what we manage there is basically all the networking from a Wi-Fi, all the APs, so the physical APs that are deployed, but we are also setting the policies in terms of the users that are coming in, their devices, how they're logged into the networks. If we're managing, enterprise or schools or whatever, they'll actually have role-based policies depending on what they are. They could be teachers, students, staff, and you want to manage them separately. And you want to also put security policies that would be applicable to them as well. So the same thing would go inside the enterprise. So if you have your employees or salespeople, they'll have access to certain parts of the company. Your finance department would have access to some other things. If you have guests or consultants coming in, you want them, you want to have them provide access, but you just want an internet connection out. So you want to set all those kind of policies at a cloud level, so it's uniform across all the locations that an enterprise has, and that's very important for global institutions or a multi-state environment, because you don't want to set policies locally. You want to have that uniform policy across every place where you operate.
Compliance is just one reason why you would want to do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so on the compliance side, especially, let's say in healthcare, you want to make sure that the institutions are HIPAA compliant, so the technology allows the healthcare facilities to become HIPAA compliant in that case. But we've seen, prior to utilizing centralized management in the cloud as an example, if you look at a multi-site or multinational corporations where they would have let's say their Asia Pacific subsidiaries, and many times in the controller-based Wi-Fi, you would actually set the policies down at the controller level in a particular country, and that would differ even from the Asia-Pac headquarters, and sometimes wildly differ from headquarters if it was a US-based company from what the policies were set. So now you can set it across.
So Mads, it's interesting to me. I know that companies that don't necessarily have cloud solutions sometimes will argue that cloud solutions don't work if the internet's not working. And they cite that as a drawback. And with Wi-Fi, cloud-managed Wi-Fi, is a situation where if internet's not working, you don't have Wi-Fi. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So the downside from a competitive standpoint doesn't seem to be there. It just makes sense to do it.
Right. So in a cloud-based model, the enterprise customers, or and I'm using that as a broad term, so anything outside of your home, they can deploy it as a cloud, on a hypervisor platform in a data center, or they can actually deploy it on appliances, so servers that are just sitting there. There's really no downside, even if the internet connection goes out, because that means probably a lot of other things are going out in your enterprise. So let's say you had remote offices, or if you had real estate offices, we then would have standby SSIDs that would come up, so you could actually come on as a guest, as an example, or the users locally would be able to do all the work locally, in printing or whatever it is that they're doing, and then as the network comes back up, then everything syncs back up in time, and then they can communicate back out again. So there's I sometimes make a blunt statement and say there's really no reason for any customer to buy a hardware-based or controller-based network ever again. In my opinion, those days are gone. You could buy, because you can buy it as a private cloud within your enterprise or education or whatever it might be, or you can push it out into a public cloud.
Now,
Into
cost included. How are the costs?
Costs are very similar. The issue in running on on the private side is that the institution, whatever it may be, is actually bearing the brunt of the operational cost. So you can push it out and you can leverage all the operational costs that the managed and hosted service provider is providing to you. So you're not worried about the staff and other things. And we see that in education. K through 12 would be an obvious example where the IT staff is not going to increase from where they are. They're probably going to be under more stress and other things. You have tablets per child, laptops per child coming in. So it's now ubiquitous across everything they have. When you put it out into a managed and hosted environment, back into the schools, then the managed and hosted provider is dealing with all the issues that may occur or the interoperability with the devices. That's obviously on us to make sure that works. But the department there is not worried about that and doesn't have to dedicate resources to that. We'll take proactively control of the network and ensure that everything is operating as it should.
So why don't you take the last 30 seconds or so and tell us why a company should work with Adtran as opposed to a competitive cloud-based Wi-Fi solution, and also maybe some of the things that are coming in the future.
Yeah. So Adtran is a global company that has really, if you look at when Adtran back in 2011 when acquired BlueSocket, it was about 9 to 10% international revenue. Today, last quarter, we announced the earnings. We're 55-45. So really fast movement, globally dispersed. Adtran brings a whole breadth of products to the market, from our carrier networking for the infrastructure side on carriers to the enterprise networking. So when we launch into verticals, and we're sitting in a hospitality environment here, when we launch into verticals, we bring everything, not just the Wi-Fi. So the Wi-Fi is critical. We are one of the few players that actually do manage and host the services. We're the only ones that actually bring real-time help desk to the environment. So we bring all that under the Wi-Fi umbrella, but we add the networking products and other even carrier networking products to our solution and bundles that go out into our customer environments. So we'll be able to compete much more effectively against some of our competitors that are pure players in the Wi-Fi space.
Thanks so much for your time. This was great.
All right. Thanks a lot, Rich. Appreciate it.